Okay, everyone, now here's our prototype. We fixed a few things in here, but we do need to fix some other things, right? So first of all, this input field is too simple, just input. We're going to need to do validation and have a label for accessibility and so on. So we're going to have to update this. So I've created a page in the docs called field. I've prefixed my artboard now with docs with the underscore, which means it doesn't get published. It's kind of a hidden field trick. And we're going to build a field component. So what is a field component? Field component is a group component, so it's kind of a pattern, how I see it, of an input field, some text which is called a label, and some more text, which will be the helper text. So let's go in and build this. First we'll insert let's do it from the assets panel, created in this file, input. Let's add our input, right? So this is what we have right now, and inside there, as you know, we have our pip, so we can add a left icon if we want, right icon, and we even have support text. And there's more we'll add to this later on, which will enhance it even further. But for now, it's just a simple text field, right? So you see here, and you will have seen before, that the component inside is not set to fill. So if we would go to our main component, if we wanted to pip, we should always set that to fill if we want it to fill. Okay? All right. So from input, let's go back to our field. And now you'll see that it's fill, but it's centered by default. So that's no good either. Let's go back there, because in general, I think our pip should be left aligned by default. Right? And make sure the text is left aligned. And then when we have a button, we want to set it centralized. And that's what we did in a previous video, and you'll see that the buttons are centralized. So let's go back to our field. Okay, so what do we want in addition to this? We want some text. So and this will be called a label technically. So it's using our body medium for now, that's fine. Now we must make sure it always uses our color pattern too, right? We can use it this way, we can grab it from the library here, and it would be the color text. That would go up here, right? And then we would want another one. Zoom in a bit, so I don't have to get too close to the screen. We would know another one underneath, which is going to be helper text, and we might want that to be small. Now we can tweak this at any time, like that's the beauty of a design system. Let's leave it like this for now. So here we go. Now we want to auto layout these three, so we don't have to align them ourselves. We just click auto layout, and we must give it a token. Smallest token is 2, and that's probably what we're going to go with here. So it's tight. This is a very basic component now, a field component. Now this one looks a little bit large to me, and we can tweak this as much as we want later. So let's just set that small for now so that the text is bigger. This is going to be a helper text, and that's going to be the label. Now we can set, I can't remember if we previously set ourselves a text support. Exactly. Of course we did. So now we have that token, and we can use it here in our helper text. So now we've got a label, our text field, and this is going to be a new component, and it's going to be called field. You can call it input field, or inside there we have our label, our input, and our helper text. So this is good. Now we have our first field component. Now we need to go and replace our forms with this. So this, we're going to swap it for the field, and we should set some options here, because maybe we don't always want to see these. So as we did in previous videos, we're going to have to set some props. Let's replace that for the field, and I should also update my field to follow my convention that when I have a component that is published, basically ready to use, and is a component, I should put the brackets, and that's just my convention. Not everybody does that. I'm not saying it's a brilliant idea. It's just the one I use, so I know when I have a good component versus something else. So we should change this one too, of course, right? So let's just update all of those, which will automatically update in our prototype, of course. And we are going to update this and set some props. Okay, so we might not always want the helper text, so we need to set a prop here, show helper text, and I shorten this because we don't have much space when it shows here necessarily. So I'll just put it this way, and I'm going to hide it by default, so you see it disappears. Okay, and the label, I'm going to leave that on, but I will allow us to remove it. Some circumstances, inline, etc. we might want that. So I'm going to leave that one on. And we can switch it off whenever we need. Otherwise, we just have, and if we do switch it off, we do switch off the label, we go back to our basic input field, but we now have control over whether we want it to be show the label or the helper text. Okay, so now we have our login, and this we should update. So this would be username, and this would be password, and this would be email. So now we have a more accessible label that, oops, press the wrong button, that doesn't disappear when you click inside, and that's important for accessibility. So if we go and check our prototype, you'll see we have updated it, but we have lost a couple of things, the icons, for example. So we would have to put those back because we switched our input for a field, so we'd have to update our input now to add the logo again. And let's go ahead and do that. So let's go back to our forms. Now we need to add in here, in the pip, we're going to show the left icon. And we're going to change the left icon to be for username, let's use an account. I think that's what we used before, I can't quite remember. There's a few options here, not really. Ooh, let's use the circular one for now. And then the password, we said we used the lock, if I remember correctly. So let's go in here and use the lock. There we go. And for the email, if we want to add there, we should left icon this and change it to email. I don't know if there's a, maybe there's not one for email. Oh, it's just struggling to load anything at the moment. Let's see if it's got one for mail. It does. Let's just use the mail one. Okay, I noticed that as well. These should be typed text. We updated the prototype instead of updating our main components, which is very naughty. Okay, now it's starting to look like, again, better. Now, so now, and we have a few more tweaks to do here, but now I think pretty much we have our prototype will still be working, but now we have a better form. Now this text, we should update that too. Let's just go back here. Here what we would want really is a placeholder. Right, rather than saying username twice. And there are other options, but in this instance maybe we could hide the username and show it here. And when you click here it goes there, which is kind of how Material does it. Or you leave the username and we put a placeholder, or we just simply remove the text, for example. Because we've got username here, we don't need the placeholder. That's just another option. So we can actually hide the text either with our prop, but that we do have to fix something there, because then because of the line height it shrinks the size. So we have to make sure the size doesn't shrink. And the other option is we just leave it blank here. That's another way to do it, right? It's not necessarily ideal. The other option is to use the username again, but we said we didn't. Why would we put it there twice? That's not awesome either. So another option is to show the support text only, but then we would have, seeing as we have to, at the moment we don't have the props for this, so we're going to have to update this so that we can show. We're going to have to update our pip component. If you remember from previous videos, we're going to have to set the props so we can tweak these independently. Texts we have a prop for. Text we do not. Support text we do. So what we wouldn't want is to allow ourselves to show the text itself. True by default. So now we have a prop also for text. Now we are going to want to reorder these. So basically icon left, yes, icon right will go to the bottom. There it is. Figma keeps updating and things keep moving around. So left icon, text would come first, generally speaking. This is a child, these are children of this, so if this one is off, these will be off. Left icon, text, support text, and then right icon. So now everything's in the right order. We can return here, and now that allows us to switch off the text itself, but leave the support text. If we wanted to do it this way, just for example, right? So let's do that for this instance, just for this demo. Let's hide just the text, and we'll leave support text. And here, same. Drill down to the pip, hide the text. You see how we can update many components with our pip. And well, this should be your email, for example. Enter your email, or let's make it more explicit, even though it's pretty clear. Okay, now if we actually go back to our prototype, we'll see that that has been updated too. So now we have an improved form. Later on we're going to add social login and an app icon, but there we go. For this video we've built and improved our input to have extra functions in the field component. Let's get on to the next stuff.